Hey, it's BK on the air here, just to let you know that this is a podcast rebroadcast of my live radio show that you can hear Saturdays 10 a.m. till noon Eastern on 100.3 FM and AM 1450 WBHF. You can stream it at WBHFradio.org or download the free Tunein app for all of your mobile devices. So let's get started. Let me just push this button here and... Okay. All right. Let's try this again. Here we go.
Stand by to receive our transmission.
Oh, wow. Has it really been a week since I've been in here to be on the air here at WBHF? Everybody's like, some of the people are like, yeah, it's been a week. You're back again. Usually we look forward to hearing things that entertain us and sports and the news and the weather and the stuff that we can really, information we can really use on our local WBHF radio. But then you come on Saturday from 10 till noon and we don't have anything useful we can hear. Some of the people, maybe not all people.
That's
think
right.
That, so.
Sometimes people like useless things.
Isn't that the truth? And that's great.
I got a whole closet full of useless stuff, and I love it. Well, and I'm not getting rid of it.
I have a whole little shoebox full of useless stuff, but according to my better half, I have a basement full of useless stuff. It's a different quantity.
Yeah,
according to different
why
people.
do you need these? I'm like,
wait a minute.
Because I love them.
You never know when a 1978 Star Trek calendar is going to come back around and you can use it again.
Right.
The years always repeat.
Every 7
eventually.
years, so you can reuse
you can use the same calendar. So, yeah, it's BK on the air. It's the place where we like to sprinkle everything with a little nostalgic geekiness and retro fun every Saturday, because you don't really get that anymore. You know, there's no Saturday cartoons. There's no sense of Saturday anymore. Ever since the Cartoon Network came along and everything, you can get cartoons all the time. I guess they still play do they still show cartoons on the Cartoon Network? Because they don't show and is there still a Cartoon Network?
I don't know.
I'm not even keeping up on stuff like that.
I know there's channels that play cartoons.
Yeah.
You got a lot of those, the new style of adult cartoon where it's like really like the South Park, but it's designed for adults, but it's cartoon characters.
But usually the only time we could get cartoons in Saturday morning television was Saturday morning on television. That was the only time that we could get it. And how funny was it were we as kids? I'm sure that you maybe did this too. I never wanted to get up to go to school. I hated it. I considered, and I shouldn't have thought that, because school was good. Now that as an adult, I'm like, I should have appreciated school and learning and education more. But as a kid, every time I was either riding the bus or in school, let's say I was sitting in school and doing something in the classroom and there was a window, I always looked out the window and saw people going by in cars and stuff, and all I knew is they weren't here. They were out there, and that's where I wanted to be.
What do I need to do to be them?
I wanted to be out there, free, doing things. I was in like Shawshank, looking out the barred windows, like I can't escape from here except in the afternoon, and I go home. But riding the bus, I'd see people going by on the way to school. I'd see people in the cars. I'm like, oh boy, I wish I was riding to wherever they're going. I don't want to be on this bus going to school. Now, I had fun at school sometime during recess and stuff, but it's just the whole thing of, I just thought school wasn't for me. I was always writing stuff and reenacting movies while I was sitting there. I think that was partly why I didn't do really great in math, because number one, all of my math teachers growing up, I had some of the worst math teachers. Because, when you're in elementary school, you have one teacher for usually all your subjects together.
Right.
Then you moved on up into junior high and high school. Then you'd leave, go to each different teacher for each different subject. And I never, ever really had a great math teacher. My 8th grade math teacher was one of the worst teachers, I think, now that I look back on it. And I tell because my wife's a school teacher. So when I tell her about what he did, she goes, wow, he stunk. Mm-hmm. That was a terrible way to teach. He was one of those teachers that had his desk in the back, and we faced away from him where we couldn't see him, number one. And then he had the blackboard up front when he was talking stuff. Mm-hmm. But he's the kind of guy who would just go, and I'm like, wait, I don't get it.
Right. And
just did not explain. His job was to explain it to me in a way where I would get it. I thought that was a teacher's job to kind of do that anyway. To partly that. I need to be smart enough to get it too, but you got to at least light the fuse on me to get me going.
That's how I knew. It wasn't that I wasn't good at math. I never had really good math teachers, because by the time I stopped taking the upper level math when I didn't have to, I really wanted to take a physics class, and the teacher said, but you didn't even take calculus. I'm like, yeah. Well, you need calculus for physics. I'm like, really?
You went way beyond what I got.
And she said, but I'll tell you what, if you're willing to give it a try, we'll drop you in the first semester so it doesn't hurt your GPA if you're not doing well. Dude, I flourished. It was an AP level class. I got a
Good for
B.
you.
But you know why? Because she not only explained the formulas, she explained why you did them the way we did them, and it made sense. If you just put X's and Y's and say, here you go, this is where you borrow from this side, you put on this side, you balance, and now go. Like, I don't get why it works that way. You didn't explain it. You just said, here's how to do it. You didn't tell me why it works this way. And so I just wasn't good at math until all of a sudden I had a teacher go, here's why we do it.
I never had that. Even when I went from, we had a middle school, junior high school, people call it, but we called it middle school where I was 6th through 8th. When I went from 8th to 9th and I was a freshman in high school, I could either take, pre-algebra or whatever class, or a class that was called Math 9. Well, of course, I went for Math 9. I'm like, I barely got Math 8 back when I was in the 8th grade, so I'll take the Math 9. I'm not going to get into algebra.
I'll bring out my inner German and go, Math 9.
9. But in this case, I mean, yes, that's what I'll take. Yeah. So I took Math 9, and I never really got it. And granted, I've never had to use calculus or algebra, really anything in my life. Like they said, I was going to have to use it. You use math a lot. So many different ways of math. You do using math, but it's just the numbers and the whole analytical kind of mind where Spock had and stuff, and the way people do it. I gravitated much more toward the performing arts and stuff like that. In math class, I sat and wrote stories about comic book heroes that I wanted to invent and stuff like that. That's where my mind was going, was that way. And that's usually the way it is. Usually people that are creative, and I'm not saying I'm creative like I'm super creative and going to be greatly talented or anything. I was creative. I created things in my mind and wrote it down. When you have that creative, whatever side of the brain it is, you usually don't do well in math and the other things. So my sister did well in math. It's very hard
to find someone with a balanced, you either more favor your right or your left. If you're on the left brain, you're more analytical.
Right.
You tend to think of things in more like problem solving. A leads to B, B leads to C. The right side, you can be a little more chaotic, but you like that. You're like, there doesn't have to be A to B. You can go A to F if you want, and you can jump around. And there are people, and ironically, that's where we have people like my wife is more left brained. And so it drives her bananas when I have a, quote, chaotic desk. For me, I know exactly where everything is. I don't feel any discomfort looking at my desk. My wife starts having heart palpitations. She's like, how do you live like this?
When you're the right brain, you go into like maybe acting or stuff like that, or you wind up being on the radio and not making any money at all, or not a lot. So that's where I find myself.
We do have a balance of both. My wife, who's is very good actor, and she loves reading, but she definitely favors the analytical side of life. And I, of course, can do analytics. I can do problem solving, but I prefer the creative side.
I'm married to a hybrid like that, too. She's very much like that. She can do stage acting. And I've told her before, I said, if you'd have went and pursued an acting career when you were coming out of high school and just gave it your all, because, when you're an actor, you forego everything else.
Yeah.
Family, friends.
You're married to
They don't want to hear you want to go pick up your kids from daycare. You've got to be at this acting job. You got to have the drive. Had she done that, my wife could have been on Broadway. She could have been on the stage. She could have been in movies or whatever. She's really good, and we know people like that even locally that are that good of an actor, but they never pursued it. But they do like doing local stage and stuff. But it's BK on there. I might describe more of my shortcomings later on in the program.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
This tumble crew has a plan, and they begin by digging into those 2 scoops in every Kellogg's pack. 2 scoops, keep them coming back for 2 scoops of plump, juicy raisins in Kellogg's Raisin Bran. Hooked up and in command, they're working now, but they're thinking how they love 2 scoops and golden flakes of bland. 2 scoops, they're turning back again for 2 scoops of plump, juicy raisins in Kellogg's Raisin Bran. 2 scoops.
You may not be thinking about pizza first thing in the morning, but at Pizza Hut, we're thinking about you. We start out pretty early at Pizza Hut, so the dough has time to rise. Chopping up the toppings, oh so we're ready for your order. Oven fresh, just for you at your hometown Pizza Hut restaurant. Your hometown Pizza Hut.
Never fear, Smith is here.
Greetings, fellow classic TV fans. Looney Tunes and Merry Melodies had a major presence on both the big and small screens, and Bugs Bunny was a major reason why. Created by storyboard artist and director Ben Bugsy Hardaway, the Wascally Wabbit made his first appearance in 1938's Porky's Hare Hunt. A co-worker nicknamed his creation Bugs' Bunny, and the legendary character was born. Most of the animation directors at Warner Brothers during that era had at one point worked on Bugs. This included Friz Freleng, Robert McKimson, Tex Avery, and the legendary Chuck Jones. He was mainly responsible for Bugs' over-the-top, witty personality and intellect. Freleng gave him his more cunning personality, and it was Tex Avery that provided Bugs with his popular catchphrase. Freleng was inspired by a scene from 1934's It Happened One Night, in which Clark Gable is speaking his lines while eating a carrot. The decision was made to have Mel Blanc do the same, and it was he who created the character's Brooklyn, New Yorkish accent. In 1960, The Bugs Bunny Show aired on primetime for 2 years before becoming a staple of Saturday morning cartoons through 1968. That same year, it was coupled in syndication with The Roadrunner Show, effectively retitling it as The Bugs Bunny Roadrunner Show, or Hour, but that's another episode. Bugs was the perfect example of what a collaboration of gifted animators, along with a gifted voice actor, could create. He had his own star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and TV Guide has named him the #1 greatest cartoon character ever. This is Pat McCormick with your Retro TV trivia from the Golden Rage of TV. You can also find me on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at Golden Rage of TV, and on Twitter at Golden Rage of TV1. Be sure to check out my Retro TV trivia podcast, available on Anchor, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts platforms. And now back to BK on the Air.
WBHF in Cartersville.
Hey, how you doing? Sorry I haven't been around. I forget how big and lonely this place can be.
That's okay.
As it turns out, I may have some free time starting tomorrow. How'd you like to catch the Gotham Knights season opener? Box seats.
Great.
I know it must be very difficult.
If only I could have stopped him. I saw him coming out of the tent. I knew he didn't belong there.
I know. You keep thinking, if only I'd done something differently. If only I could have warned them. But there isn't anything you could have done. There isn't anything either of us could have done.
Your mom and dad? Does the hurt ever go away?
I wish I could say yes. But it will get better in time. For you. That I promise.
Yeah. Batman the Animated Series. That was Kevin Conroy as Bruce Wayne talking to Dick Grayson, his youthful ward, about his parents dying in the accident, I guess, in the circus. And then he looks up and sees the painting of Bruce's parents above the mantle, and they start talking there. I play that because we lost somebody yesterday in the world of Batman who's probably one of the most talented people to ever be involved in Batman. And if you have never, do yourself a favor, if you've never seen the Batman the Animated Series that Fox did back in the day, the very first incarnation.
It was like in the 90s, maybe?
I think in the early 90s. It went on to be Batman. They changed it and added Robin a little bit later on, and then changed it again into something else. But it was still Kevin Conroy doing Batman and Bruce's voice. Watch it, because the first Batman the Animated Series is probably, to me, if you want to talk about the TV show Batman, you got all the movies we made about Batman and stuff like that. The most comic book, dramatic, correct thing that entertainment has ever created that is as close to Batman ever was Batman the Animated Series. This is exactly how it was. If you want to be, you get people complaining, going, well, that movie's not really like the comic book. They changed this, they changed that. Oh, well, the old TV show was too campy. It wasn't really like the character. They changed this and made it funny. Batman the Animated Series took it. Bruce Timm, the creator, the lady who was the voice actress, the voice talent caster, she would choose people to do voices, spot on. Everybody they chose to do voices were perfect in the voices they chose to do. Mark Hamill is the Joker, probably considered now, other than maybe Luke Skywalker, one of the most iconic thing that he ever did was voicing the Joker, and he loved it, and you could tell. But what Batman the Animated Series, best thing that was ever made, that closely resemble what Batman was all about. It was really good. And I know maybe you saw it when it came out.
I remember seeing it a little bit, but I need to
it.
go back and rewatch it because I was also told the best Batman movie that was ever done is Mask of the Phantasm.
If you want to include all movies, not just live action, as far as movies go, if you just put a blanket movie statement, the best Batman movie, I think, has been Mask of the Phantasm.
And
if you
I have
want to
not
include
yet seen it.
It's really good. It was, I think, it was made I think the show was still on the air when they did the movie, so I can't remember exactly. I don't think it was off the air yet. Well, the reason we talk about all that is this is from Fox News, and it's all over the place. Kevin Conroy's passed away. He was 66 years old. He was the most beloved voice of Batman, the headline says. He died Thursday after a short battle with cancer. He voiced the Dark Knight in Batman the Animated Series, what we're just talking about, in addition to nearly 60 different productions, including 15 films, highlighted by the acclaimed, like we said, Batman, Mask of the Phantasm, 15 animated series spanning nearly 400 episodes and more than 100 hours of television, as well as 24 video games he used his voice to do Batman's voice for. Quote, Kevin was far more than an actor whom I had had the pleasure of casting and directing. He was a dear friend for 30-plus years whose kindness and generous spirit knew no boundaries. Casting dialogue director Andrea Romano, that's her name, who I was trying to think of, she said that in a statement. Kevin's warm heart, delightfully deep laugh, and pure love of life will be with me forever, unquote. Yeah, Andrea Romero. She's the lady who voice casts everyone, and I can't think of one person that she cast that was inappropriate that did the voice. I mean, you had Mark Hamill as the Joker. You had Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. did Alfred's voice, the guy from the FBI, the old TV show FBI, Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. You had Gilbert Gottfried. Was cast as Mr. Mxyzptlk in the Superman animated series. They just used people's voices that were great. I can't remember who talked for Raja Ghul, because you remember Raja Ghul in the TV show. Well, oh, no, I remember who it was. I think it was David Warner. I think David Warner did the voice for Raja Ghul, if I'm not mistaken. There's another great voice
who died way too soon.
Yeah, so there are all these. You've got to cast. You can cast actors and actresses, but when you're casting voice talent, they don't necessarily have to look the part. They have to sound the part, which is great. Now, Warner Brothers says in recent years, Conway, who has survived, became a fixture on the convention. So, yeah, he used to go to conventions all the time. And if you noticed, our buddy James Install with Geek to Me Radio, he had just seen him not too long ago at a convention and had his photos with him, and so he was devastated when he heard about it. They say Kevin Conroy's uncomparable, nuanced performance as the voice of Batman that put him on the map and the fans' radar when Batman the Animated Series premiered on September the 5th, 1992. So it was in the early 90s, if we'd have just read on here. Kevin was perfection. That's a quote from Mark Hamill, who played the Joker opposite Conroy and Luke Skywalker in the Star Wars films. He was one of my favorite people on the planet, and I loved him like a brother. He truly cared for the people around him. His decency shone through everything he did, unquote, from Mark Hamill. Now, Hamill also described Conroy as a brilliant actor who for several generations has been the definitive Batman, he calls him. Kevin brought a light with him everywhere, added Paul Dini. That was the guy who was producer of the Batman, the animated series, whether in the recording booth, giving it his all with his voice, or feeding first responders during 9/11. He also did that, or making sure every friend who ever wanted him, who wanted to meet him or an autograph, had a moment with their Batman, a hero in every sense of the word, irreplaceable and eternal. That's what they're calling Kevin Conroy. I never got to meet him. I'd seen him from a distance at some conventions that I had attended years ago. But I've heard from everyone that he's, no matter how long the line was to get the autograph or the kids that would come up and meet him or whatnot, then that's a consummate celebrity. That's like, not that we'll ever do that, but I'd like to think that'd be the kind of people we would be. Because, if you're in the eye and people are they've taken time to come up to pay to see you, and sometimes pay again to get your signature on a glossy photo with a magic marker, with a Sharpie or something. That's, they're taking time out. So you should treat them decently.
That's how I think.
What he did.
You and I have talked about that a lot, that we would not take celebritydom in any form for granted.
No, I mean even the things we do in radio, even when you fill in at the big station in Atlanta, sometimes you still are like, I can't believe I'm here. This is great. I'm humbled. It's great, and I think a lot of celebrities are that way too. They're still down to earth.
Some are. Yeah.
Brendan Fraser, I hear, is that way. I hear Chris Pratt is very approachable.
You know, I
too.
heard Sylvester Stallone's that way.
I heard that maybe he can have their bad days, but put your.
And it could be that he's mellowed as he's gotten older. But I have heard from
right.
people. I have a buddy of mine from the 60MW podcast. There was an event where he had a chance to meet Stallone, and they had a picture taken. He had to pay for this dinner event. But he said I was expecting a Hollywood snob and he was going to ruin my view. And he goes, and it wasn't. He was just genuinely nice and seemed like he cared about the fans.
Well, you want a photo? You want a signature?
You want to see my bicep?
You want a lock of my hair? All right, here, cut it off. Yeah, go ahead. You can go ahead and take it. I don't mind.
Yeah,
I could see that. Because even in his interviews, I've never heard Stallone be bad. Maybe there is one I just haven't seen, but I've never heard him being polite or bad. And you want to talk about a superstar? He's superstar. I mean, he's huge.
I do think some celebrities, there's that period where they're like, look, I'm the most important person in the room.
Right.
But I think age mellows all people.
I know people that way that aren't celebrities.
True.
It's like, why do you act like you're a celebrity when you're not?
You're important.
You're just the guy that's my cousin that works down the road at the construction site. And you act like everyone wants your autograph.
Right.
People only people want your autograph is when you sign a check. And do people write checks anymore? And I asked that seriously. I got behind a lady the other day who took out her checkbook at the grocery store. And I'm like, what are you doing? What are you writing?
I don't
check?
get it.
And when she left and took her groceries out, and it's usually older folks, I get that. But I looked at the cashier and I'm like, what was she? She goes, yeah, people still write checks. I'm like, oh, okay. I just write checks my body can't cash. My mouth does anyway. It's BK on the air.
I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman!
Give it up!
Podcast Magazine presents the Hot 50 Countdown.
Hi, it's Rob Actis, host of the Podcast Magazine Hot 50 Countdown. Join me as I count them down from 50 to number 1, the top 50 podcasts in the land as determined by you, the podcast fans. From true crime, society and culture, self-help, health and fitness, science, and every podcast category in between. The Hot 50 Countdown is here.
And don't forget to vote for BK on the Air as one of your favorite podcasts at podcastmagazine.com.
He played the world's most famous masked man. Then the courts took his mask away. How did this resourceful hero of yesteryear hide his identity?
Sun sensor lenses that change. Indoors, they're light.
Outdoors, they change the dark sunglasses. Wow, silver dollar.
What were those sunglasses that stranger was wearing?
Those were no ordinary sunglasses, ma'am. Those had sun sensor lenses.
Hell, silver! Away! Sun sensor lenses that change.
Hey, we're back. It's BK on the air here on AM 1450 and 100.3 FM WBHF. I'm having a good time here in the studio. We could record a podcast even behind the scenes, but it wouldn't be safe to air, believe me. So I'm glad that you're able to join me here this Saturday morning. Later on in the program, I'm going to review the Black Panther Wakanda Forever. I went to see it last night. Myself and my better .5, Mrs. BK, went to the theater last night, and we usually like to get the big, nice reclining seats in the theater that have the tray and the heated seats, and you can recline them. And the only thing they're missing is a massage thing. And if you had too much to a theater seat, she goes, let's get the theater seats that are heated and you can recline and everything. And I'm like, do you want me to fall asleep in the theater? Because if I recline, if I'm in a recliner, that's why we don't buy a recliner for our living room. Because she knows if I get into a recliner and recline after a hard day's work, and I come home and we're sitting there in the living room after having dinner and I'm reclining, I'm going to be like, I'm going to go to sleep. Because that's just what's happening.
I am polar opposite. I could be dead tired, exhausted, ready to just pass out. Sit back, put a movie on, wide awake. My wife, on the other hand, she's like, hey, let's watch a movie. I'm like, why don't you just go to bed? She goes, why do you say that? I'm like, because in 15 minutes
you'll
you're
be
asleep.
in bed. I do that.
She goes, well, I put a movie on, it lulls me, and I go to sleep. And I'm like,
something that I've seen 20 times, that's fine. I might fall asleep during it.
I don't even
I've
do
only
that.
fallen asleep during one film in the theater, and you know which one it was.
Theater.
No, and you know which one it was. Now, granted, it was several years ago. We were at Universal Studios in Orlando, and we had walked around all day. It was hot. We had a great time, because if you're enjoying yourself, that will tire you out too, because you're excited. Your endorphins, or what's the thing in your brain that fires off dopamine and all that in your brain, and your heart rate's up, and you're enjoying yourself and everything. Well, that's going to sap your energy out too, because it's like working. It's exertion. So we wound up, and it was hot. So we wound up going to the theater because the package we bought had free theater tickets too. When we bought our tickets. So she's like, oh, we haven't seen Inception. Let's go see Inception. I'm like, okay, cool. It's Christopher Nolan film. It's supposed to be kind of weird. Let's go see it. We walked in, the wonderfully comfortable theater, the theater seat that hugged me like velvet arms, and the cool air conditioning of the theater. And it's not one. It's a movie you really got to. It's like a Mission Impossible episode. You got to really pay attention to this movie to see what's going on and everything. And I sat there, and it's not an action-packed movie, but it's got action in it. So before I didn't even know it. We're sitting there, and the movie starts, and I'm watching it. All of a sudden, the next thing I feel is her poking me in the ribs with her elbow, and I'm like, what? She's like, you're snoring. I'm like, what? Apparently, I'd be like, in the theater, I did that snort thing and woke up. She's like, you're falling asleep in here. I'm like, I can't help it. It's comfortable. It's air conditioned. It's like 60 degrees in here, and it's like I'm like a hibernating polar bear in an ice cave. I love it. I love sleeping when it's cold. Plus, I'm exhausted for being at the park. So we were in those seats when we saw Wakanda Forever. We get those every time we go. Now we spend a little extra so we can be comfortable. You know, it's a nice. I don't sit up front in the theater. I did that when I was a kid because it was fun. I'm in the front row, and the screen is giant. Who cares if I'm looking up the nostrils of everybody on the screen and it's distorted? I don't care. But now, and I don't like sitting all the way in the back either. Some people are like, we want to sit all the way in the back. I'm like, you want to sit so far in the back to where the movie screen looks as big as your TV screen when you're home. I don't want that. I want to sit right in the middle of the theater, midway down, in the middle. I don't want to be off to the side either. I want to see it right center, sweet spot to see the film, and that's where we sit in these reclining seats. So we did see Wakanda Forever last night. I'm going to give you my 3 in 3 review. I'm going to give you 3 great things about the film and 3 things that I really didn't like about it. Is it the perfect Marvel MCU film? No, it's not. But you know what? I will tell you, I'll tantalize you with this. It is much better than Thor: Love and Thunder that came out. It's much better than the She-Hulk television show, and it's much better than some of the other things that Marvel has given us. The Eternals is better than the Eternals, yes.
What about Shang-Chi?
If they're back on, you know what? I think Shang-Chi I enjoyed a little better than this. Really? And I think I enjoyed Shang-Chi more than you did because I'm a little more familiar with him. And people got mad in Shang-Chi. They're like, where'd this dragon come from? I'm like, well, that's part of the comic book. His name's Fing Fang Foom. He was a dragon. He was in this comic book. But I think I think Shang-Chi's a little better. But this, at least Wakanda Forever, looks like they're writing Marvel back into the superhero seriousness and getting away from the comedy again and back into the things that we've been wanting to expect from Marvel now. So that makes me feel better. But it's not a perfect movie, but I'll tell you what I did like and what I didn't like. But right now, it's not time to do that. It's time that we flash the audience. This movie may go long because I went really long on that. So I don't really care.
I totally forgot this is supposed to be Flash.
I don't care. And I reset the clock here in the studio, and I totally did it wrong. I don't know what I did wrong. But now it's totally wrong, so we'll have to reset it later. And look at that. I have the first news.
Wait, you touched something and it went horribly wrong?
It went awry. You're saying that like it's a surprise. No way. Everything I touch turns to pot. Quite a bit.
Really?
Yeah. That's an old saying, and it doesn't mean what you think it means. That's an old saying.
I know that phrase.
From UPI, a professional archer from Denmark broke a Guinness World Record by shooting, listen to this, 7 arrows in a row. And you're like, what, yellow bullseye on an archery target? No, he didn't do that. What, an apple off somebody's head? No, he didn't even do that. This is probably even harder. And my wife took archery in back in school, and she loved archery. And I tried it once. I'm like, I can't get the hang of this. When I pull it back, I point right at the thing, and for some reason it goes behind me. I don't know why the arrow does that, but with me it did. No, this guy shot 7 arrows in a row through a tiny keyhole. I mean, come on. That's serious Robin Hood stuff.
That's impressive.
Lars Anderson took on the Guinness World Record for most consecutive arrows shot in a row through a keyhole in Lyngby. Anderson successfully shot the arrows through a keyhole that Guinness mandated could be no more than 10 millimeters. That's about 0.39 inches wide keyhole. He said that he used arrows without feathers for the attempt because feathers would have become caught in the hole. No, I don't need the feathers to keep it stable. I don't need the wings on it. I'll do it without the feathers. They'll just be long sticks with a metal tip on
it. It's amazing.
See, I hear stuff like that, and I'm like, some people have super abilities. They really do.
Right.
His mutant ability, he was born with the mutant ability.
Hawkeye.
Yeah, he's better than Hawkeye. He may actually be better than Hawkeye. That's great.
You know what? I was thinking about this since it just popped in my head. I am due for a rewatch as we are heading into the holidays.
That's
Hawkeye
right.
is going to be on my rewatch list.
Hawkeye is a Christmas show.
It is very much
obviously
a Christmas
show, and
yes.
that's a good idea. I think I'll do that too.
All right, I got the next news.
Because it's a good show.
It's fantastic. This from UPI. The new owners of an unusual shoe-shaped Pennsylvania house built in 1948 announced the facility is now available to rent for short-term accommodations. Now, the house was built in 1948 to promote Malin Haines chain of shoe stores, and it has since gone through multiple owners and served as a honeymoon suite, an ice cream shop, and even a tourist attraction. The house was renovated by the Browns. Its 3 bedrooms, which are all filled with shoe memorabilia, have been dubbed Shoelace Space, Instep Suite, and Ankle Abode. Reservations, which are currently available through the end of the year, start at $269 per night. There are rumors that a little old lady is wanting to buy the house.
I hear that she's got a bunch of rugrats.
Doesn't know what to do.
And where the dad is, we have no idea. Got the next news.
Where is the dad?
I didn't know there was actually a house that looks like a shoe. That's good to know. Another one from UPI. A California
Don't
man...
pay your bills, you get the boot. Sorry. That's terrible. Hey, careful. If you get the missus upset, she'll give you a tongue lashing.
Okay, here we go. Let's get it. Come on, let's just get them all out. Come on, go ahead. Just go ahead.
I don't have any more. I'll stop. I need to stop
Good,
now.
please
I hear my wife wherever she goes, would you just shut up?
Stop. UPI, a California man with a passion for hot peppers, earned his latest Guinness World Records, a lot of world records today, his title by eating 10 Carolina Reaper chilies, the hottest peppers in the world, in 33.15 seconds. He downed them. Gregory Foster completed the mouth-scorching challenge in San Diego about 9 months after earning another Guinness World Record title by eating 3 Carolina Reapers in 8.72 seconds. This guy's a glutton for punishment. 1,641,183 Scoville heat units.
That's a hot pepper.
I'm not going to do that because I like throwing up.
Water! 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 Water!
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Thanks, man. I'll drive it tomorrow.
To make a light snack for after school, start with Jell-O Gelatin, like Mrs. Jenny Schrang of Miami.
After the kids are off to school, I often take a couple of minutes to make them light Jell-O gelatin snacks for when they get home. I make the snacks in paper cups, and the kids just love them. And I like them because they don't spoil our appetites. Just prepare any flavor of Jell-O gelatin. That's the brand I prefer. Pour it into paper cups. Add fruit or whatever you happen to have on hand. Then place the cups in the refrigerator. So after school, the kids will have a nice snack waiting for them.
For Jenny Schrang's Jell-O snack idea, see April Women's magazines.
Hey, Mike, your mom is great.
To make a light snack that's fun to eat, start with Jell-O.
Oh, my neck. Allow me. Hey, such soft hands. And you a dishwasher.
My Ajax dishwashing liquid is mild on hands.
But I thought Ajax was a tough grease cutter.
Watch this. It is tough on grease. As my Ajax squeak soundly states. I've also found Ajax is mild on hands.
You and Ajax sure know how to treat a lady.
Ajax dishwashing liquid in the new clear bottle. Mild on hands, tough on grease.
Yeah. Yeah, baby. Yeah.
When it comes to shows about movies and comic books, heroes and crazy news, I tune into BK on the air from 10 to noon Saturdays.
Yeah, talking about hot peppers here off the air. Things, hot sauce and things you he's telling me about the peppers that he tried once. And when you eat a hot sauce or hot pepper that's so hot that it burns when you eat it, and it burns your mouth off, and then it burns you somewhere else when you go to another room to do something else. That's terrible. Mm-hmm. That's just. Oh, this must have went straight through me. That's really bad. It didn't even stop. It's terrible.
I love spicy food.
I do too.
But I also like the taste of flavor. And if I just taste fire.
Right, and that's all you taste?
What does it taste like? It tastes like fire.
That's a bit too hot.
It's like, okay, no.
I'm sorry. That's a bit too hot. I don't want to. I do want to. I have to use my tongue to taste later on in life when I'm living the rest of my life. Mm-hmm. I do have to use it to other things.
Now, granted, I have developed and I don't got to get to our news flashes, but I have developed the ability to handle a lot hotter food than when I first started with spicy food. But I'm still not that person who's like, you know what I want to do? I want to not taste for like the next hour. Like, no, that's not fun for me.
When you do that, you don't impress me when people do that. They're like, I can eat this billion Scovine pepper and still live. I'm like, have at it. Go ahead.
Yeah, no.
I'll stand over here and eat food that I can still taste.
No, when physical pain ensues, I'm not a big fan of. I'm not into Opus Dei, okay?
I'll second that.
All right. Well, we got to continue on with the news, which I've got one more here, and then you've got one after that. So let's go to UPI. A reptile wrangler was summoned to an Australian... Well, we already know it's trouble. We're in Australia.
And reptile in Australia.
Everything wants to kill you in Australia.
Don't pet that rabbit. Because it's in Australia, don't pet it.
It was summoned to an Australian home where a resident discovered the cause of a moving microwave was actually a pair of mating pythons.
Behind a microwave.
Yeah,
in the kitchen.
They were getting a little cooking going on.
Number one, how did they get back there? And didn't anyone notice two migrating pythons slithering through their home? I guess they were gone and they just came on in. I mean, what?
Or came up through the infrastructure, up through the basement. A snake catching business said the woman noticed her microwave had moved and looked behind it to find there was a pair of mating snakes. Quote, "We were able to get there quickly and relocate the two lovebirds back out into the bush where they belong." Sounds like that's where they started.
Hey, I knew you were going to say that. I'm like, how's he going to make fun of this? Oh, that was okay. If I'd started out, if I'd have told you, hey, I got a story here about two mating pythons found behind a microwave. Mm-hmm. Where do you think it is? You would have said Australia.
Australia.
You wouldn't even have thought. You're like, Australia. You'd have said Australia before I finished the sentence.
Two pythons found behind. No, it's Australia.
Don't tell me anymore. I have the last news. A Texas woman made a spooky discovery about her rental home in Gainesville after the renters claimed it was haunted. Linda Hill, owner of Hill House Manor. See, it even sounds haunted.
Hill House Manor.
She told Jesse Waters Primetime Monday she was taking a shower when she heard someone say, "Looking good." And I thought it might have been Freddie Prinze from Chico and the Man, because that was his catchphrase. She states that she thought it was her husband. Well, of course, maybe that could have been, but however, it's not her husband making the comments. It was a ghost, she added. She added that she believed the home has many different types of ghosts. Quote, "We've got kids, we've got old people, old guys, and we got hookers."
Okay.
Ghosts.
Oh, I'll take what I can get.
That's what she told the host. The most common type of ghost that comes around here, she said, are hookers. I'm like, okay.
What did they used to do? The house.
She said they told her they have felt someone stroking her face, stroking her arm, and touching their shoulder. Host Jesse Waters of the show that she was interviewed on quipped that the good thing about the hooker ghost was that you didn't have to pay for it. Like, okay. This gets better and better. The Hill House Manor owner said a ghost did follow a renter home one time, but eventually got tired. She said she told the man to tell the ghost to go home. Quote, "And they did. She came back up here," unquote. The rental home reportedly has been a popular spot in recent months for paranormal investigators staying the night to figure out the alleged phenomena. Her husband was quoted as saying, "At least they don't charge."
That's funny.
There we go.
Yeah.
Just put that right in. We're done with those. So there you go. Did you ever see the movie talking about ghosts? Did you ever see that film? I don't think it did very well, and it came out in the early 80s called The Entity.
No.
That was the name of the movie, The Entity. And it starred Barbara Hershey, a well-known actress. And it was a paranormal experience, ghost. I got to be really diplomatic here. But it was a ghost of a man who obviously had died, but he was very violent and attacked her in a sexual way, even as a ghost. And it was very violent. And they did effects where it looked like she was being touched with fingerprints. Like if you were to grab someone's arm with your fingers and hands and squeeze real tight, well, their skin moves to show that your fingers are there. But imagine not seeing the hand grabbing your arm, but only seeing what they do to the skin when you grab it. They did effects like that in this movie, and it was creepy looking. And it was called The Entity. It was directed by, I think, an Australian director named Sidney J. Furie. And I don't think the guy ever had a hit. He directed that. He directed Superman 4. Oh. And he went on to direct Ladybugs with Rodney Dangerfield about the girls' soccer team or whatever I think is what it was about. I think every movie he directed flopped. But that was actually an interesting paranormal movie and an interesting, albeit violent subject matter of a ghost to do things. And the ghost that attacked her did all of it. I mean, he did everything to her. It was terrible. And then it was kind of like Poltergeist.
But it was a ghost for real?
Right. It wasn't. It wound up being a ghost. And no one believed her because she was kind of playing a lady who was kind of an exaggerating woman that wasn't taken seriously anyway. So for her to tell them, hey, this ghost is doing this to me, and they didn't believe her. That's the worst part of seeing her doing something that no one believes you. They didn't really believe them when they showed up in Poltergeist going, the things in the room move. She goes, well, I taped what do you say? I taped a car once that took several hours
to cross the kitchen
the
floor.
Room. And they're like, took it. Really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, come on, let me show you this.
That's the best. When Mr. Freeling just looks at him and goes,
That's right.
Like, you're not impressing me. Let me open the door for you. Hold on.
It's like, oh, you ate a jalapeno pepper? Okay, well, come over here. Try this one. Watch this.
That's cute.
What's some of the worst final words from someone? Hey, watch this.
Hey, y'all, watch this.
I had a friend do that once, and it didn't turn out too bad, but he decided he wanted to take some firecrackers once. He took some of these, I don't know if you're familiar with the ones called M80 firecrackers.
Yeah.
They're the big red ones that you can actually poke holes in the side and pour the powder out of it, and get it out. He decided to take this big, I guess it was a prescription pill bottle, one of those real tall, big bottles, and filled it up with that powder. Put the white cap back on it, the child cap back on it, and locked it. But he took a drill and drilled a hole through the top of the cap so he could put the fuse in there to blow this thing up, and buried it in the ground about 1.5 inches. He goes, all right, I'm going to light this and blow it up. So he lit it, he ran back, and it blowed a lot of the dirt out from around. It didn't blow it out to where it hit us or anything because we were pretty far back. But he actually did that. But I thank my lucky stars to this day that he never, before we did it, he never said, hey, watch this. If he'd said that might have made it different.
Yeah.
The fates might have went, oh, we have other plans for all of you now. All plastic's going to blow up and hit you all right in the face.
Thankfully,
but that didn't happen.
If he didn't pack it really tight, that helped because it could have been bad.
It was just in the bottle. He didn't put anything else in. It was just a plastic bottle. He put the earth. He just kind of buried it just a little bit to keep the top about it. I used to do horrible things. I don't even want to say how I launched bottle rockets when I was a kid because I don't want somebody to do it. I didn't put them in bottles. Let's just say that. But don't do it. I'm telling you right now. If anybody goes back and listens to this program and says, "Hey, he told me to hold a bottle rocket and throw it right before it goes off," I'm like, "No, I told you not to do it."
I'll never forget the time me and my brother we had the little bottle rockets, not the whistling, but it was like and they crack.
Yeah.
We had a rainstorm. And there was so much humidity on the ground. We were just into the whole Robotech anime style of like the robot missiles.
Yeah,
remember how those missiles never went straight and they always left the smoke stream? We suddenly realized because of the heat on the ground and the humidity, if you launched a bottle rocket down the street, it left a smoke trail for a while. Yeah. It looked just like we were doing Robotech. So we got to both ends of the street. We were shooting rockets at each other like we thought we were in an episode of Robotech.
See,
because that's what kids do when they're stupid.
That's just part of what they do. That dates you and I a little bit because once Robotech came out, that's kind of when I stopped watching anime and cartoons and stuff because Robotech was one of those 80s ones that came out. And they always made it to America late, which means it came out in Japan before that.
Oh, well
They just
before.
redubbed it and packaged it over here for us. Now, Robotech, I've heard it's really good, But what was the other one? The other one that had the guy who was the big lion, the big
Voltron.
tiger. Voltron, yeah. So I did watch a little bit of Voltron because I think it was animated
At one point in time, we had all 5 of the Voltron lions, and you could connect them and make the big robot.
You came in later on anime. I started with Battle of the Planets.
I had G-Force
and Speed Racer.
I didn't watch Speed Racer. I knew it was on.
What was the other one? I can't remember the other one that I watched. Star Blazers. I remember that one.
I didn't know it was quote called anime. I just remembered it was a different style of
No,
drawing.
I didn't either as a kid. As a kid, I'm like,
watched Felix the
this is
Cat, which
different.
was that same style.
I'm like, this is
Kimba.
This doesn't look like show animation here. I wonder why is this so different?
Yeah.
Their eyes are so big, and the explosions are so massively animated
style.
and stuff. So,
but I think as a kid, I watched a few of those cartoons and got drawn to it. And then I realized, oh wait, they tell adult stories with cartoons. Right. These are really good.
And they even toned it down for us. When I saw the unedited version of Battle of the Planets, when I finally saw them in Japanese, and it was called Gotcha Man. I'm like, wow, they did take out all the violence and the language and people getting killed and other things. Because they just didn't make it over here. In fact, in the TV version, when a ship would crash and blow up, the robot, which was added to the show to narrate it, he goes, the ship crashed, but thank goodness all the pilots were okay. It didn't tell you that they all died, which they really did in the unedited version. So they changed it for us a little bit. We kids can't handle stuff like that. But we blew stuff up with Bugs Bunny. You know, Bugs Bunny and everybody blew up. So he was constantly blowing Daffy Duck up. It's PK on the air. Let's go blow something up.
Stay tuned. Next on Battle of the Planets, Earth is attacked by a frightening craft from outer space. A monstrous serpent-like ship sent by the evil ruler of planet Spectra to devour all of Earth's oil resources.
Transmute. Well, we finally smoked you out and got you in the air. Come on.
Watch as a young girl joins up with G-Force to help Mark and the rest of the team defeat this latest menace devised by the evil Zoltar. Be sure to watch this exciting episode coming up next.
Ring around the collar, ring around the collar.
Those dirty rings. You try soaking them out and scrubbing them out, and you can still come out with...
Ring around the collar.
Now try Whisk. Whisk out-cleans any other laundry product because it sinks in and starts to clean before you start to wash. Gets even permanent press collars really clean. You won't hear ring around the collar with Whisk.
I'm starved. Got any pizza in the freezer? We make fresh pizza. That's complicated. Not anymore. We use pizza in a skillet from Chef Boyardee. You really make it fresh in a skillet?
Sure. Everything comes in the box, and you make it on top of the stove in just 15 minutes.
Just spread the dough, then add the sauce and shredded cheese. Making it fresh makes it delicious. Delicious. And so fast. Pizza in a skillet from Chef Boyardee. Cook delicious homemade pizza in just 15 minutes.
Stand by to receive our transmission.
Hey, we're back. It's PK on the air. Let's do a little on this day in history. Today is November the 12th. We try to tell everybody, my show falls on a Saturday, so I can only do one. But each day is important in its own right, and we'll do this one, November the 12th. 1910 on this day. The first possible silent movie stunt was done on this day in history. A man jumps into the Hudson River from a burning balloon on this day in history, and they filmed it for a silent film. Now, it was so long ago, they differ on what the movie was called. They're not sure what it was, but they do have the record of that happening in 1910 on film, the first possible movie stunt ever done. And back then, I'm sure there was, maybe no safety precautions
before
taken.
OSHA.
What's that?
Wires.
There was no shin.
Safety wires? What are you talking about?
We got the burning balloon, though. Yeah. And we got the Hudson. It's water. Just jump in the water. You'll be fine.
In the water. It'll put you right out.
Action. Are you okay? Hello? You all right? 1946. You know what? I battled on whether to do this, but you know what? It was part of history, and I'm going to do it. And I'm not part of the woke PC culture. On this day in history, a movie was released.
Jump right out of it. Zippity-doo-dah, zippity-yay. My, oh my. What a wonderful day. Plenty of sunshine heading my way. Zippity-doo-dah, zip
That's right. 1946, the same year the bikini was invented. My mom was born, and this station went into broadcasting for the first time. This movie also premiered. Walt Disney's Song of the South was released. Made anybody mad playing that? Guess what? I don't care.
I don't care either. It's a great song.
Get over yourself. I remember that movie as a kid, saw it, remembered it fondly, and anyway, we could talk about it another day. You still can't get it on home video, so it would be nice to have that movie to see again, because I remember my youth seeing it as a kid. On this day in history, 1966, November the 12th, Buzz Aldrin takes the first space selfie photo of himself performing activity in space outside the capsule during the Gemini program. Now, his selfie is probably more important than any other selfie ever taken, even today. Especially if you're taking it, I don't know, in front of a jacket you just bought. That's dumb, stupid selfies that are taken. And it's like, come on, when did we get so stuck on ourselves that we had to people? Some people, you look at some Facebook pages of even people I know that are friends of mine, it's just one selfie after another all over the place. And I'm like, I don't get it. But his selfie, that was cool. In space, especially when the camera was huge. Mm-hmm. I know it didn't weigh anything when he was in space. True. But that's fine. It was still bulky. If he'd have dropped it, it would have just went away from him.
Well, nobody would have heard him scream.
You know, I never could. That's right.
Sorry.
The camera! It cost $1 billion. How do I tell them? I'll tell them a meteor hit me.
Houston,
that's what I'll say.
I have a problem.
Why, Buzz? Did you do it in your suit again? No, that's not. It's another problem.
That's the other problem.
This one's going to cost us a whole lot more money. Yeah, I dropped the camera. You can't drop the camera in space. Okay, I accidentally let it go, and it's floating off to Venus right now.
I lost the camera.
Oh, no, I see it.
I know where it is.
I just can't go get it.
Can't get it.
It's going away from me. 1972, 50 years ago, the number one song on the chart, I Can See Clearly Now by Johnny Nash. I remember that song very, very well. 1982, how about let's go 40 years ago. What was the number one Billboard chart in 1982 on this day? Up Where We Belong by Joe Cocker and Jennifer Warnes.
That must have been right after A Gentleman and a...
Officer and Gentleman. That's the movie it was from. That's right. Yeah. And a good movie. I liked that movie. I loved Lou Gossett Jr. as the drill sergeant, the Marine Corps drill sergeant that drills the Air Corps guys.
From there, didn't he? His movie choices.
Hey, he did Iron Eagle. That was good.
Still a good
That was a fun movie.
It was fun.
Iron Eagle was good.
Hey, Top Gun made a lot of money. Let's do one in the Air Force.
Enemy Mine after that. Enemy Mine was phenomenal.
Enemy Mine was great. You're right. That was fantastic.
But he won Academy Award for that. Don't you eyeball me. Don't you eyeball me.
You eyeball me, boy.
Mayonnaise.
Mayonnaise.
His name was Mayo, but he called him Mayonnaise. I thought that was great. On this day in history, November the 12th, 1984, the Space Shuttle astronauts snared a satellite. On this day, it was the first space salvage ever conducted when they grabbed a satellite and fixed it. I got a Space Shuttle story coming up, too, from NASA, which is interesting as well. Today, on this day in history, this is sad. Rest in peace, Stan Lee passed away on this date. American comic book artist, writer, and creative leader of Marvel Multimedia Corporation. The Avengers, Spider-Man, Incredible Hulk, Fantastic Four. Come on, he created a lot of them. And a lot of people get mad because they're like, why do you include Captain America on that? I'm like, well, they do. When they kind of, people that don't know what they're talking about, blanket a lot of characters as he created them, but he did not create all of them. He didn't create Captain America. It was Joe Sinnott and Jack Kirby that created Captain America. But Stan Lee was actually the one that brought Captain America back into Marvel after he'd been gone for a long time, brought him back in the 60s and put him in a book with Iron Man and brought him back and to decide to do that. And I still miss Stan Lee. Do you remember how old he was when he died in 2018? He was 95 when he passed away. That's what a legendary guy to reach that status and live to 95. It could have been a lot worse. I mean,
love
that's a great life.
When I go back and do the little mini marathons of the Marvel Cinematic Universe to see he got a cameo in every movie until he died.
That's right, yeah. And there's a cameo. You'll spot Stan Lee in several little spots in the Spider-Man ride at Universal. He's in there, too. Just got to look for him. Just keep your eyes open. You'll see him. 2019, Disney launches its film and television streaming service, Disney Plus, on this day in history. Back in 2019, and on the same day, The Mandalorian is released on the day they went live. And also, that was the first day that you and I watched. I don't know if it was the first day, but you and I watched The Black Hole.
The Black Hole
on Disney Plus when it
I watched The Black Hole and Tron. My first two things on Disney Plus.
Can't believe The Black Hole looks great. My videotape copies were horrible, but it looks so good now. Birthdays today on November the 12th. Kim Hunter. Her real name is Janet Cole. Kim Hunter, the American actress, Streetcar Named Desire. She played Zira on Planet of the Apes, the female ape with Roddy McDowall. Great actress. She died in 2002. We've talked about that before. They had to pick wonderful actors and actresses to play those apes in Planet of the Apes because they had to act through that makeup, and they did. I mean, to me, those movies still hold up makeup-wise.
And that was, when you think about it, Academy Award-winning makeup, too, because the prosthetics allowed you to see their eyes and be able to actually move their mouths.
And that gave them a little more
emotion. It didn't look like a rubber face. It looked like they were really talking apes.
You can act with your eyes, too. They did a lot of that, too.
It was great.
Today is possibly one of the most beautiful women ever born and most beautiful celebrity actress, I think, that ever walked the face of the earth. Grace Kelly, American actress. She was in Alfred Hitchcock's Rear Window. She was in so many movies. And she was also the Princess of Monaco for the longest time as well. Yes, beautiful woman. Have you ever seen pictures of Grace Kelly? You're like, oh, wow, these gals today can't hold a candle to her. Just look at her. She was a classic beauty from the day. She always falls on my radar as best-looking woman ever. Wallace Shawn, it's his birthday today. You know who Wallace?
Inconceivable!
That's right, American actor from The Princess Bride. Did you do that with a lift like you were supposed to? Inconceivable. Today is Neil Young's... I
don't think he's Sylvester.
Yeah, that's kind of.
It sounded
he just spits when he talks. Neil Young's birthday, Canadian American singer, songwriter, guitarist, and organ player. I didn't know Neil Young played the organ. Today is Rhonda Shear's birthday, the lady who was on Up All Night on USA Network. Her birthday's day. And today is Ryan Gosling's birthday. The Notebook, Drive, Blade Runner 2049, and the upcoming Fall Guy. I think he plays Colt Seavers in the new Fall Guy movie they're making, the TV movie with Lee Majors.
This fall, Lee Majors takes it to the limit.
Who are you? Burt Reynolds. You ain't Burt Reynolds.
Lee Majors returns to television as Hollywood's craziest crash artist and hottest stuntman.
Sometimes I'm Robert Redford.
Catch a new spirit of action and adventure. Fall Guy.
Wednesdays the night,
You know who makes the #1 cookie in America? It's not who you might think. It's my mom. She makes Nestle Toll House cookies. Mom says you have to use Nestle real chocolate morsels and the original recipe on the bag or they aren't real Toll House cookies. Say, why not ask your mom to bake some? If you've been good, I'm sure she will.
Nestle Toll House, America's favorite cookies made by America's favorite moms.
Hey, we're back. Speaking on the air, having a good time as always. I want to tell you that we had that NASA story on this day in history. Did you see the story about them finding the largest piece of the space shuttle? Some divers looking to put together a World War II documentary where
they were looking for a wrecked ship.
Yeah,
and they found a chunk of the
they found it. It was
space shuttle
from the original shuttle Challenger that blew up on January 28, 1986. It says the piece is more than 15 feet by 15 feet. It's likely bigger, given part of it's covered with sand. It's probably bigger than that because there are square thermal tiles on the piece. It's believed to be from the shuttle's belly, they say. The fragment remains on the ocean floor just off the Florida coast near Cape Canaveral as NASA determines its next step. It remains property, obviously, the U.S. government. So, yeah, they're found a huge piece of the Challenger. I remember that well. I was on early lunch break from work back in 1986.
I couldn't believe it. I was home.
In Canton, Georgia.
I don't know why. I think I was sick, and so I was watching. I was like, well, I might as well watch it. They don't air them anymore. They're so routine.
Yeah, commonplace.
And then when I saw it, I was like, did it
What's going on? Yeah, it was crazy. It was they're kind of confused at first what happened. And you remember they explored that part of the story of how NASA launches became humdrum and just no one cared. In Apollo 13, directed by Ron Howard, when they launched Apollo 13, the woman playing Jim Lovell's wife, the actress, I can't remember her name, Kathleen Quinlan.
Kathleen Quinlan, yeah.
That was Tom Hanks, Jim Lovell, his wife. She was at the launch. She's like, why is there no one here? And they were like, nobody cares anymore.
Yeah.
But the moment the emergency happened, all of a sudden, all the press is there again, and it becomes popular again for the wrong reason. It's always National Something Day, and today is no different. Today is National French Dip Day. Today. You know, Kohl's, there's a place called Kohl's French Dip. They they proclaimed to be the originator of the French dip sandwich. They founded National French Dip Day in 2018 in honor of the 110th anniversary of their opening in November 12, 1908 in historic downtown Los Angeles. When we went out to L.A. and took our trip to L.A. and met a friend of ours that worked in the Bradbury building that was featured in Blade Runner, he says, Kohl's is right around the corner. Let's go have a French dip. And we went and ate there.
Oh, sweet.
We ordered a French dip at Kohl's, where I guess they originated the French Dip Day. So I see how I tied that in with my trip there. Kind of cool to do that. So anyway, that was it. That's the only national. There were other national days, but I'm like, I don't report all of them because some of them are silly and just too many of them, and I don't want to get into National Fire Ant Day. I really don't care about that. Or National Brussels sprouts. Well, Brussels sprouts, all right. They're back in vogue now. So
you just got to cook them
used to hate them,
right?
Because they weren't made right.
Correct.
See, I didn't like green beans growing up until I had them the right way. My family growing up would make green beans. They would cook them to where they were mush. And they were salty and stuff. So now you saute French-style green beans with nuts on a stovetop, and they're crispy and snappy and really good with butter. That's how you make green beans.
You're
That's
not
how I like them.
sauteing your green beans in a cast iron pan. You're doing it wrong.
You're doing it wrong. Boy, we found out our family did a lot of things wrong growing up, but we fixed that.
Hey, let's just boil everything.
We got older.
Okay. I don't know why everything seems watery and mushy.
That was a line from Steve Rogers in one of the Marvel movies. They're like, oh, everything today is so much better. The music, I'm catching up on everything. He goes, and food's so much better. Back in the 40s, we boiled everything. We just boiled everything. That's all they could do.
Just hot water.
Speaking of MCU and Marvel movies,
he's coming.
Without the Black Panther, Wakanda will fall.
Vibranium, he's covered in it.
That can't be good.
Let's go! Now is our time. To strike.
Marvel Studios, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Only in theaters, November 11th.
That was yesterday, right?
Yep,
November
Veterans
11th.
Day.
I saw it last night. Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, the latest edition in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I mean, I'm a fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Let me say this right up front. Some of the recent offerings from Marvel, I'm not a sycophant and like everything some franchise does. I'm a Star Trek fan, but I'm not going to like every Star Trek thing that come out and have shown that I haven't. I'm a Star Wars fan, but I don't like a lot of the Star Wars things that have come out here and there. I pick and choose. You like what you like. It's like food and music. I don't like every Marvel movie that comes out. Well, I didn't like the Eternals very much. I know that you didn't either. We probably matched on a lot of them. I didn't care too much for the She-Hulk TV show. I didn't care for that. And it's not that I didn't get it. Oh, you don't get it. That's the way the comic was. I'm like, well, I didn't like the comic either. I didn't like the comic book either. So I wasn't going to like it. I'm not going to like everything you make, just because I didn't like it. What was the other one we were talking about on the break? I didn't like. Thor: Love and Thunder.
Thor: Love and Thunder.
I mean, in the theater, I'm just sitting there going, "This has got to change eventually and get kind of serious and take itself seriously." No, I guess it's not. So the last few things that have come out, I think they actually probably, with me, they peaked with Endgame and maybe Spider-Man: No Way Home, because that was kind of like right after Endgame.
They had a pretty good track record going.
Yeah, I liked Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. I did like Shang-Chi, The Legend of the Ten Rings, whatever that one was. I did like that. But again, they're kind of, I think they may have peaked. Well, with Black Panther Wakanda Forever, I'm going to give you 3 and 3. 3 things I liked about it and the 3 things I did not like about it. 3 things I did like. The tribute to Chadwick Boseman and T'Challa in it is done so well and with taste and grace and done so well. I'm not giving anything away because everybody knows the actor passed away. He died. So the first scene in the film is them trying to save T'Challa because of a debilitating disease that has struck him, and they're trying to save him. Well, they don't have the magic purple flowers that they take to become the Black Panther that they use on him anymore. So she's trying to synthesize it and fails, and so she feels responsible, and he passes away, and they have his funeral and everything. That was done with taste. Very well done, not overdone. Even, do you remember the Marvel logo that shows at the beginning with the music, and it shows all the characters montage with the Marvel logo coming out? This one has it, but it's completely silent with no music, and every character in it is him in the logo. They pay a great homage to him by doing that too. But there's no music over it. It's totally silent.
Wow.
And silence is powerful sometimes. When I first saw American Sniper, the movie about Chris Kyle, and we were in the theater, and when the movie ended, there was total silence in the theater, and no one got up and left. But there was total silence, and that says a lot.
You know, there's a lot of weight when you ask your wife what's wrong, and it's no response.
Yeah, you're being affected somehow.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Well,
This is bad.
They did it very well, and the Black Panther dies in the film, and it mirrors exactly how Chadwick Boseman passed away. It was an illness, cancer. They don't call it cancer, but you assume it is. And he hid his illness from everybody. Well, when did we find out? When did we, the public, find out when Chadwick Boseman died? That's when we found out he had cancer. We didn't know either.
Right.
It was just, there we go. Hid it from everyone. So even in the film, while Chadwick Boseman was in Avengers Endgame filming his scenes, he had cancer, and he knew it, and he probably knew he wasn't going to live, from what I've heard from different stories. Well, the whole time that the character T'Challa is fighting in those movies, he knows he's going to pass away because he knew of the illness a long time, and he kept it from everyone in Wakanda. They mirrored it exactly with the actor's life. I thought that was an interesting tribute to do it that way. That was a good thing about the film that came out of it. The other great thing is the story. It tells the story of the old saying, revenge is a dish that is best served cold. And the old saying, if you first set out on revenge, you first dig 2 graves instead of 1 grave, one for you too, because that's probably going to happen. That message is throughout the whole film, because his sister Shuri is so eat up with guilt and hatred of what's going on that she couldn't save her brother, that she kind of goes over to the dark side in this. And grief and things like that affect you and will sometimes make that happen. You and I know that, how grief can affect people different ways. That was handled well too, because she does successfully make the plant, and where she can go to the other side. When you take the Black Panther purple plant to turn it to give you the Black Panther powers, you temporarily cross over to the other side and speak to loved ones that are gone, like T'Challa did. Well, she does that too, and it's surprising who she gets to see in this. The other good thing about it, Ryan Coogler's a great director. I do like how he directs a film. The first I've never seen another thing he's directed, but the first Black Panther film was wonderfully directed. Camera angles, how he chose to show things, his use of slow motion in appropriate spots. Sometimes slow motion is overused and it's kind of silly sometimes, but I think he uses it appropriately. And Angela Bassett, who plays his mother, the Queen now, this is her film. She's the one that really outshines. I mean, she gets her moment in this, several moments where she is just over the top. And I think Angela, did she win an Academy Award for playing Tina Turner, or was she nominated or something? I think she might have been nominated.
I'm sure she was.
But
I will tell you,
she's a great actress.
She's wonderful. I have
fantastic.
not seen her ever not give a fantastic performance.
She was, and she in this. No different. She was great in the first Black Panther film, but that wasn't her film. She was a supporting character.
Right.
She really shines in this because she's incredible. I guess the word I'm thinking of is powerful. She's very powerful in this. And the guy, Winston Duke, the guy who plays M'Baku, the ape tribe, those guys, he was great in the first film because he was a little comedic, kind of funny and whatnot. But in this, he's funny in this, but he's the kind of the moral compass that talks to Shuri, T'Challa's sister, to say, hey, listen, he would not have wanted you to go this route. You better be careful because you may be the you may be the leader of this world now since he's gone. He's actually the funny guy, but he's the one that kind of tempers everything with little common sense, which is great. He's also funny, too, because when Namor, the Submariner, shows up and and beats everybody up because he's pretty powerful, he's like, I wasn't there. I would have taken care of him. What, of a guy from the sea with wings on his ankles? What? If I'd been there, it wouldn't have happened. Well, he soon finds out that's not the case when he does show back up.
Yeah.
So I thought I would start off with 3 good things about the Black Panther that I liked. And like I said before, it has the tone and the feeling of the older Marvel films before we took that weird turn into comedy and weirdness and I don't know, just not above not the standards that we were used to with all the other Marvel films that we remembered. But I don't know, maybe Marvel has peaked. Things do peak, They peak and then they kind of go, oh, okay, well now we're out there. It's like the NASA launches. Oh, we're done. We're not sick of it now. We got a new 3 Marvel movies every year. But if it was a thumbs up, thumbs down, I give it a thumbs up. We'll be back.
We'll return after these messages.
Super Slurpee. Now at 7-Eleven. It's the biggest, boldest, coldest Slurpee to ever quench a thirst. It's the 32-ounce Super Slurpee. And now 7-Eleven has a fantastic summer offer. Every Super Slurpee comes in a free plastic Superman 4, The Quest for Peace Movie Collector's Cup. 8 in all. 32 ounces of Super Slurpee and Superman 4 Movie Collector's Cups. Only at today's 7-Eleven.
Elements took the sugar out, come up and taste the mint. So fresh, they take your breath away. Come up to Elements.
Come up to the world of Elements where it's cool and refreshing. Elements are sugar-free and so fresh they take your breath away.
So fresh and cool and sugar-free. Come up to Elements.
Bad feeling about this.
Quiet, numbskulls. I'm broadcasting.
Oh, is that what you call it? Hey, we're back. It's BK on the air here on AM 1450 and 100.3 FM WBHF. I want to remind you that if you're not local and can't hear our AM and FM signal, you can always stream us from the website, WBHFradio.org. Click the Listen Live link there, or you can download the Tunein app or the Radio Garden app. Use either one of those apps, and you can tune us in and hear us anywhere you want. If you're in a cave 1,000 feet below the surface in a coal mine, if you got a cell signal, and I don't know if you'd have one down there, you got to have a heck of a hot spot to have a cell signal or a Wi-Fi signal there. You can still hear us if you have those apps. It's great. Well, with the good comes the bad. It wasn't a total washout for Black Panther Wakanda Forever. I did enjoy some of the things. We went through 3 things that I really liked about it, but there are 3 things that I really found that was bad. It wasn't all good. Some of it was bad. Okay?
What was bad?
Some of it was bad. First off, if you're a Marvel Comics fan or a fan, you may have heard of a character named Namor the Submariner, Prince Namor. And he's from Atlantis, he's from under the sea, kind of like DC's Aquaman. He is. It was even the 66, the Thor cartoon and the Spider-Man cartoon and the Iron Man cartoon. They did a Submariner one, too.
I watched it all the time.
I never got to see the Submariner one. They must have played certain ones in different areas, so I didn't get to see that one. But if you're going to choose someone to play, now this is just me talking now. If you didn't feel this way, it's all right. Don't get your winged ankles in an uproar over it. But I will tell you,
he does have winged ankles.
That he does. Yes, he does. He has wings on his ankle, just like Captain America has wings on his helmet side of his mask. Yeah, and they asked him once, they asked Stan Lee that once. They're like, why did they put wings on Captain America's head? And he goes, I don't know, it's just kind of cool. And I thought, well, I always thought because eagles have wings, and eagles, USA, flag, it's patriotic. That's why. And I never minded them. A lot of people draw him without the wings because they think it's hokey. I'm like, well, if you put them on there right, it looks good. It's like Batman's ears. If Batman had just a round head and not his bat ears, it just wouldn't look right. It looked like a bullet or some kind of weird, stupid bullet head or something like that. That's why it would just be a rounded head. It just wouldn't look right. Well, Prince Namor is a powerful character in Marvel, and he's a powerful character in this movie. He comes from under the sea, and he gets his power from that. He's a mutant, though. He's half sea mutant and half human due to his past. Well, you're going to get an actor to play this character. You're going to have to get someone pretty powerful of an actor or a performer to do the right thing. And this actor they have that's playing him, his name is Tenoch Huerta is his name, and I think he's from Mexico. He just did not have the acting chops for this character. I mean, if you're going to play a major, powerful character, you better have the acting background and the forcefulness of your character and your personality to back it up. I mean, even though it was just his voice, James Earl Jones was a menacing Darth Vader. Ricardo Montalban was a fantastic Khan. Name the powerful villain, that someone was playing. Anthony Hopkins as Dr. Hannibal Lecter. You've got to have these performers to really blow through with this performance. This guy, I just didn't feel it with him. Every time he was on the screen and he would talk about, and again, he was a villain. He wasn't a villain. He's a hero to his people under the sea. Because he's doing the right thing for them, and they think he's doing the right thing. He's one of those villains where he thinks he's doing the absolute right thing because they've been wronged about so many things, and he's had enough of it. And that's how the Submariner was when he started out. He first attacked the Fantastic Four, I think, back in the old days when he came back to Marvel after being, because he's an old character too. He was created in the 40s for Marvel, I think back when Marvel was Timely Comics or something like that. He's a very old character. And he was in a group called the Invaders in the comic books with Captain America back in World War II and helped him during World War II. I don't think they'll do that with the current continuity, but he did in the comic. But he just couldn't handle it. I'm interested. You judge and look at actors' abilities and when they perform as a character on screen or stage. So I'm interested in your take on it when you do finally see it. See if you agree with me, because I just don't think he didn't have what it takes to play this character, and that was very much missing, in my opinion. There's another character in the film, a young girl that attends MIT, very smart, that develops a vibranium detector machine, and she's a college-age genius. And Namor finds out about this, and he wants to find her and kill her, because he has the only supply of vibranium now since it's been destroyed. You can't find it on Wakanda anymore. So that's whoever controls the vibranium. There's a lot of people trying to steal it and use it for their own purposes. Well, there's a girl she becomes a character in Marvel called Ironheart, who builds her own suit of armor, kind of like Iron Man, a young girl that Tony Stark works with. Well, he's gone now, so they changed her background for this. And the addition of her in the film, when you see it, I'm interested to see it if you'll see this as well. She seemed like an afterthought to the film. When I saw her, I'm like, what role does she play here? She's kind of useless in the film. She's there just to kind of show Tony Stark flying around in a suit of armor again, but it's her. But it just didn't seem like it didn't seem like she did much to help out, and I don't know what it was about it. I thought it was a weak performance too. So that was the other part. The third and final part, which is a blanket statement, is this film has a lot of, politically correct wokeness to it as well. And I hate using that term because I don't like it to begin with. But it's just that's infiltrating a lot of the films, and I think people just go, well, we have to put this in there, so it's just got to be correct, and we have to go that route. The loud voices, and we got to do that. Subdued. Yeah, that squeakiest wheel has to get the grease, or it's going to squeak all day.
We don't want them accusing us of things.
When that's in there, it just looks like it's just glaringly just shoved in there, like for no reason whatsoever. I'm like, oh, that didn't help the story one bit, but it's in there. Thanks a lot for that. So that was useless. So. It's like you're cooking. You cook at home. It's like cooking something at home. You're like, oh, I got the recipe here, and I'm going buy this and everything. It's kind of good recipe. Why don't I just add peanut butter to it? Why? Why would you put peanut butter in it? That's useless. Has no reason for being in there. You wouldn't put it in there. To me, that's the wokeness being put into the recipe of these films. And I don't guess it's going anywhere because it's always going to be there now. So I guess I've got to.
I hope it's not always.
No, well, I hope not either. But there was enough of good that they did right and did very well in this film to counteract the bad, I think. So I leaned more toward thumbs up on it than anything else. So it did have a lot of enjoyable spots. This is a serious movie. It's very dark and serious due to his death, and they're mourning him. They're mourning T'Challa.
Good. I need the antidote to Love and Thunder.
Yeah, you need a serious shot after that funny bone smack in the elbow.
Dude, it still is so bad. It helped correct what I thought about some of the other movies. I was like, oh, you can make a worse movie than you already have.
You kind of did, but it was a Thor one. And what blows my mind sometimes is when they mess up, at least according to us. A lot of people didn't think they did, but we think they did. It's the same people that did the last movie. I know. You just did a movie. How did you do this one? Why did you do that?
Well, let's take everything that people said they loved, and we'll put it on steroids.
Well, that's what I said. Like Spinal Tap, they amped it up not to 10 but to 11. Wait, there's no 11 on here. Well, there is now.
Like a jovial Thor. Okay,
I wrote 11 on the amp. There's 11. I can dial it up to 11. I wrote it in.
So goofy.
It only goes up 10. No, this one goes to 11.
It's the same problem they had with She-Hulk. They went so goofy. They took characters that you're supposed to like and made them into buffoons.
Right, and that was, at least they don't do that in this.
Good,
because there's no room for that. But the special effects, again, are fantastic. Everything looks great. There's just a couple of times where you might go, I don't know why they did that. But I think overall it was a pretty good movie, and I think it's going to be a success. So maybe Marvel is writing that, at least that part of it that we didn't enjoy.
I got to ask you a question.
So we'll go that way.
Are you sticking with Andor, or have you given up on it?
I have not given up, but I just haven't had a chance to go back and pick it up after the 6th episode that I've ended with. I'm up to 6.
Andy Serkis as Kino Roy.
Is that tie into the Kino planet in the Phantom Menace or something?
No,
it doesn't. Oh, okay.
Oh my God! What?
Well,
he's a great actor.
Anyway, yeah.
They give him a monologue. It's a school for acting. Just He's got
right.
Remember Han Solo, the way the little communicators look, the little kind of angled out microphone coming out of the thing.
Yeah,
he's in there. He's like, and Andor is saying, or Cassian Andor is like, okay, you need to tell everybody what's going on. And he starts off and he doesn't know what to say, and by the end, it's like goosebumps. Like that dude.
I never had
amazing
an issue with the acting in Andor. The person who blew me away in Andor, I know you guys liked a lot of the guards in that company or whatever that was working, the labor guy or whatever. I thought the older lady that was his caretaker, like his mom, his adopted mom, I thought she was phenomenal because she's Harry Potter's aunt in Harry Potter, and she's also in a show that my wife streams called Killing Eve, and she plays an MI6 agent in it, and she's great. She's great in it. So
everybody's fantastic.
I may have to come to the realization that it's just not my Star Wars show, though. That's the thing. I may not. It just may not be me.
If you watched all of She-Hulk, you
can
make it.
Oh no, I plan on watching it. I will. I will.
You got to get to episode 10 just for that monologue.
But I will give it a chance. I always do. Speak on the air.
I'm Louis, the lifeguard, and happy to say I rescued a drowning potato today. They drowned in its sour cream. Oh, what a shame, 'cause food's so much better when it's practically plain. So don't drown your food in mayo, salt, ketchup, or goop. Yuck! It's no fun to eat what you can't even see. So don't drown your food.
Isn't the color a little dark?
Believe me, you'll get used to it.
These days, it's pretty hard to get things done your way. But not at Burger King.
2 Whoppers and 2 chocolate shakes.
Could we have the Whoppers with extra ketchup on them? Sure.
See, Burger King doesn't make all its delicious 100% pure beef hamburgers ahead of time. You want your Whopper built some special way, you get it without a lot of waiting.
Have it your way, Burger King.
We have to get on. We have so much time and so little to do. Strike that. Reverse it. This way, please.
And now, back to a guy who has no idea what a call of encroachment means, but he knows what roughing the listener is all about. It's BK on the air.
Flight 209er, you are cleared for takeoff.
Roger. Huh?
LA departure frequency 123.9er.
Roger.
Huh? Request vector. Over.
What?
Flight 209er, clear for vector 324.
We have clearance, Clarence. Roger, Roger. What's our vector, Victor?
Tower radio clearance, over.
That's Clarence, over.
Over. Roger.
Huh?
Roger, over.
What?
Crazy Airplane from 1980. You got to admit, and I know that Alan's a fan of Airplane and the Jerry Zucker guy's brand of comedy. Naked Gun with Leslie Nielsen and the Police Squad TV show they did first, which is the same kind of humor. Top Secret with Val Kilmer.
Top Secret, still.
That's one of my favorite films, and it's the one that flopped that no one saw for some reason. They just couldn't get it. I don't know why. I play that because I have a story here from Caroline Thayer and Fox News, and we talked about, I hit on this PC wokeness, politically correctness crap that's going on. This story comes from Fox News. Airplane and Scary Movie and Top Secret, we just talked about those movies. Director rips cancel culture and comedy. And this is a great story. David Zucker has been in the entertainment industry since the early 70s, directing films like Airplane, which you just heard a clip from, and films like Scary Movie was one of the later films they did, which I thought was funny, too. It was just spoofing another franchise, which was great.
Did such a good job.
But he's currently disappointed with cancel culture infiltrating the film scene. Boy, aren't we all. Quote, comedy is in trouble, of course, unquote, the 75-year-old explained in a recent interview. Known for his spoofs and parodies, Zucker and his brothers says that when he started out in the industry, the threshold for what qualified as offensive was very different. Quote, the theater served as a laboratory for our humor, he said, of trying out material with his writing partner. We got instant reactions, and we could be offensive, and we liked. We went where we thought the laughs were, and we never thought that we were offending anybody. But if we're offending people, then we knew we were on the right track. It was just the opposite back then. If they knew they were offending some people with comedy, they were on the track with the kind of comedy they wanted to do. His hit 1980 film Airplane, starring Leslie Nielsen, Robert Hayes, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, it was a spoof of the black and white film 0 Hour. That was what the whole Airplane movie was a spoof of. They spoofed older things. The Police Squad, the TV show they did with Leslie Nielsen that went on to be Naked Gun. It was a spoof of a TV show called Racket Squad with Lee Marvin, a TV show. It was almost the same title sequence. He pulled up in the car and shot the gun over the hood of the car and stuff. It was almost, just like the Racket Squad, I think, title sequence. He says when we would do screenings of Airplane, we'd get the question, could you do Airplane today? And the first thing I could think of is, sure, just without the jokes. That's how we'd have to do it.
Wow.
Which, what would you have at that point, A lot of dialogue that didn't make any sense. Now, speaking of the evolution of jokes in films today, Zucker notes, quote, as time went on, it got to be in the 90s and the 2000s, then it did change. I mean, we never worried about any of this stuff with the Naked Guns or even the scary movies. The thing he's talking about, crossing a line. That's what he means there by saying that. Quote, my current writing partner, Pat Proft, and I, we wrote a parody film on James Bond and Mission Impossible not too long ago. One female executive said, this joke is getting pretty risque here. It was just a very mild joke about the lead female character, he says, because she had, come up through the police department and through the FBI, and she needed a breast reduction to fit into the Kevlar vest. That was the whole point of the joke that they had put in the movie, or the treatment, the script. Mm-hmm. It was pure oatmeal, so mild, he said. Not one of our funniest things, but this was like way too much. And I thought, gee, if this is the criteria for it, we're in big trouble with the rest of the script.
Oh, wow.
If they don't like that joke. They're destroying comedy because of 9% of the people who don't have a sense of humor. Actually, I think it's lower than 9%. I'm going to go out and just say it's lower than 9%. So
there's an entire group of people who think the stuff's funny, but they know they're not supposed to laugh, and so they take it upon themselves to tell you it's not funny.
And I have less respect for them. At least the people who truly don't think it's funny and don't want anything to do with it, at least they're being truthful. But the people are doing it and don't believe what they're saying, I have even less respect for them.
And they tell you what a bad person you are for not knowing you shouldn't laugh at that. What's wrong with you?
Now, although he thinks the current state of comedy is in disarray, he thinks it will make a comeback. Quote, I just think there's a pendulum. The pendulum will swing back. I would like to see comedy filmmakers do comedies without fear. I mean, we always used to do whatever we wanted to do and try it out in front of an audience. If something was really offensive, you'd just get you'd get a giant sucking sound out of the audience, and that's not good. We don't want to make a point. We don't want to try to educate. We just want to make people laugh. That's all we want to do. Mm-hmm. I'm like, thank you. That's kind of what comedy is supposed to do, right?
Last I heard.
I mean, thank goodness that Zucker takes that position, because I know that he's taken that position. John Cleese is very upset at the world of comedy right now. He says, we never would have been able to do Monty Python today. So I don't know where it's going to go. It's a slippery slope. And I know I don't like to talk politics, and I don't have to with this subject, but there is a way where you handcuff and tie someone's hands behind their back to do something. It's not gonna be entertaining if you go, well, we can't say this because we might offend these people. We can't say that because we might offend this group of people. I'm like, well, then you might just pack it up and not do anything.
You're going to always offend something.
But it's only the certain type of people that offended no one cares about or someone cares about. And I'm like, that's not right either.
I'm not a fan of anything that you have to water down to make it palatable to the masses. If you don't like it, then don't watch it.
Right, and I do that. If I know something that I don't like I never cared for certain comedies that were on TV or certain things that just went out. It's like, I'll give you an example. I never liked Jackass on MTV. Mm-hmm. TV, I just saw that and I'm like, that's what they are. They're a bunch of jackasses.
I mean,
I'm
it's
like,
the right title.
I'm just not going to watch that because I just don't want to waste my time. I'd rather watch something else because I don't want to. Which one did I decide to watch when I decided to go, oh, what is this Jackass? Let me watch it. I turned it on. I don't know what it was. It was on YouTube. So people were like, oh, you got to see this from Jackass. It's great. They put the guy in a porta potty thing, like at a construction site where they use the porta potties, and hooked it to a giant bungee cord. Now, the porta potty, he was in it. The porta potty was full of it, you know what. And they launched him into the air, and they showed the camera from the inside of all of it coming out and going all over him and in his mouth and everything. And he came out of the porta potty at the end just throwing up and stuff. And I'm like, do I want to waste time watching this?
Yeah.
I mean, but it's incredibly popular, though, and that's the thing. I don't want to waste my time.
Maybe that explains the direction our country's gone.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It might explain a lot because there's a lot of stuff going on that I'm really ashamed of.
But you
that's
and
crazy.
I never came out and said, that shouldn't be on
Pull
TV.
that off the air. No, I've never said that. I never said that. I've never called for the firing and the execution of Kathleen Kennedy and Star Wars. I've never done any of that. And boy, have I disliked some Star Trek and some Star Wars. I mean, the TV show Star Trek Discovery that came out on Paramount Plus, I thought that was one of the worst Star Trek productions that was ever made. I didn't like it, didn't like where they went with it, didn't like what they were doing. I didn't like the lack of Star Trek in it. To me, it was all kind of like all gloss and icing and no heart and cake to it. You know, it was none of that. And I didn't like it. I tried to watch it. And I tried to. I don't just I don't take other people's saying, hey, this is bad. And I'm like, oh, he said it's bad. It must be bad. I actually will watch it. I'm like, I got to decide for myself. Right? And I even switched gears. I've switched gears on one movie, and we talked about it last week. I switched gears on Starship Troopers. I didn't like it first, and after I watched it a few times, I really liked it. If I don't like something, I don't like it for whatever reason. And I know that's true with anybody about anything.
Right.
But don't handicap it and tell people, oh, you can't write about that because 9% of the people will get mad. I'm like, who cares?
Right.
Who cares?
It should be that way.
Even in the 70s and the 80s when things were being written, didn't somebody not like it even then probably? Somebody probably didn't like it, but we didn't really care.
If you remember the whole story of the making of Blazing Saddles.
Right, which we did a podcast about.
Someone made a mistake and said Mel Brooks had final cut authority. Every producer told him to cut basically everything out of the movie.
And there would be hardly any movie.
He chose to only cut two things.
Right.
Both, I think, were I can't repeat them, but two things. But he released the movie he wanted. Everybody said, this is going to be a disaster. Ended up being one of the biggest box offices for that year. He had the other big box office was his other movie, Young Frankenstein.
Which we both examined.
In 1974.
Which we both examined 1 minute at a time with the Wilder ride. You had me on for several segments for both films, and we took it apart 1 minute at a time, both those films. And when you delve into it that closely, as you well know, you find out and learn a whole lot more about a movie that you never even knew about.
There were even people then trying to say, oh, this is offensive. Oh, and you know what? Mel Brooks goes, but this is the movie I want to make. And guess what? Audiences loved it. Not everybody.
No.
But there was an audience, and it was a box office smash.
Right.
And it's considered a cult favorite to this day.
Right. And I think that's what's kind of creeping into the Marvel movies now. They're kind of sprinkling it with a lot of that. And not just the Marvel movies. It's everywhere. A lot of the people go, well, we have to do this, and we have to do that. I'm like, step back just a second. Do you have to? Do you really have to?
No.
I don't think so. And I'm not saying purposely just offend someone. Don't do it. And when I say something in a group setting, like if I'm a party or just in a group setting wherever I happen to be, and I happen to say something and someone goes, and they get really mad, and they're like, oh, I can't believe you said that. I'm very offended and mad at you right now. I'm like, well, that's your problem. Because number one, I didn't say it to make you mad. I just said it because you asked my opinion of something. Now, here's the thing. If I know that if I say X, Y, and Z offends that person now, and I just continue to say it, then I'm just being mean. I realize it. So anything after that, you can fault me with it. Like, okay, I shouldn't have said that because you don't like that. I'm sorry about that. But if you're offended by someone that just wrote something, I don't think there's anybody, except maybe with some productions, I don't think that people's intention are sitting to write. Do you ever write anything or anybody that you know that goes, okay, I'm writing this story. This is a great screenplay. How many people can I offend by writing this and this and this? I know some people do that. But I think as a rule, that's not really what anybody sets out to do. And if they don't do that, you can't really get mad at them if they didn't set out to offend you. Oh, that's my life's mission.
Although if you say, I'm going to make sure I offend everybody equally,
that's different, right?
Like that.
That's the best kind.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I'll see things that make fun of what I like. And if it's funny, I still think it's funny.
See, that's the thing. You and I still have a sense of humor.
We do. We have it. It's right in our back pocket. We got it under
too far away.
We got it under lock and key. There's an alarm on it. You can't take it away from us. It's BK on the air. It's been a great 2 hours today. Thank you, Alan, for being here. Always have a good time. Look forward to it every Saturday.
Let's do it again next week.
All right, I'll put it on the thing here.
Put it on the calendar.
Actually, I have to. I'll forget.
Have your people call my people.
I'll forget if it's not my iPhone calendar. I won't show up. It's like, I got to go do the show. That's not true. I love doing it. It's BK on the air. See you on the podcast.
Like a midget at a urinal, I was going to have to stay on my toes.
Goodbye.